Good evening, or if you're Alan, good morning, very early morning to NUFC 360. I'm joined by Alan and Ez, and
G'day.
we are going to be talking. It has been, hasn't it? We are going to be talking about Newcastle United beating Spurs 2-1, going forth, and just being fucking amazing. I'll start with Alan because he's probably knackered by now. Pick the bones out of that, Alan. Go on, pick your performance. Who's shone today? What's pleased you the most? Whatever you want, off you go.
Oh my god, Botman is immense. Bloody hell! I mean, he made Kane and Son look so ordinary the whole match. Cher as well. I mean, unbelievable. I'm bloody speechless, mate. I really am.
Well, don't be.
I don't know if it's 2 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, of course, yeah.
I'm just bloody speechless. I'm like, oh.
Ez, what do you reckon then? Come on, what stood out for you apart from obviously the result?
I think just everything came together today. All the shithousery we've been practicing over the games, it kind of all came into it today. Nick Pope was brilliant. I just think we were solid. We were just a solid team. We weren't flustered. I think we were brilliant. And Nick Pope for me was I just see the difference there between him and Martin Dubravka. The time wasting was brilliant as well. I mean, the time wasting was so good. It was so good. It was winding them up. He took a yellow card. But you know what? Really dreading the second half and came away that last half hour. We were actually quite comfortable now in hindsight. Obviously, we weren't comfortable at the time watching it, but in hindsight, there wasn't a lot going on in that last half an hour where you expected them to push. Yeah. And I think that's testament to our players.
Let's talk about our first goal, the one which we'll know, and the one that'll be much debated, I suppose, between both sets of supporters. Alan, foul or no foul?
No foul. He's outside the box. Lloris, he's outside the box. He's just like an outfield player. No foul. And interestingly, in Malaysia, the ex-assistant manager Mike Phelan from Man United, and even Jose Enriquez on the show as well, they're saying that they're talking about Lloris being past it. So I'm like, whatever, mate. Who cares? Yeah. I care about Wilson.
He's being past it.
Oh yeah, they're saying that he should retire. Blah 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 blah. I'm like, they're not giving Wilson any credit.
That's a bit harsh, isn't it? Just retire now, man. You've made one mistake. Retire, for God's sake, and do us all a favour. As without taking your Newcastle United shirt and hat off and whatever, foul or no foul?
Well, I think if it was the other way around, we'd want a foul on Nick Pope. But I don't think it was a foul. I think if the referee had blown the whistle, I don't think there would have been any complaints, or at least you would have had to have accepted it and went, okay, cool. But the fact he didn't blow the whistle, it's a 50-50. It's for me, it's a 50-50. And usually you see him given for the goalkeeper. That's usually what happens. But for me, strictly speaking, they just clashed into each other, and that's the end of it, which isn't a foul.
No, and that finish was just like, instead of sort of turning around, well. And I mean, the thing for me, what Lloris did was sort of like bounce off Callum and seemed to go, right, well, that's going to be a foul, isn't it? Right, off we go. Pass me the ball. No. And Callum's first, of course, him being a striker, his first instinct is to go, I'm putting this in. But that finish was just something else as well. I mean, he still had it all to do, didn't he? It was just...
Just calmly lobbed all of them,
Yeah, because it was quite a crowded box as well.
Yeah, totally downplayed. Like the pundits, the commentators, that was a really hard finish. Like to finish from there on your left foot, from outside the box, with all those players in front of you, that was a world-class finish.
Yeah, it's a finisher. It's a real goal striker, a real striker's instinct, isn't it? Because he didn't want to go down. He wanted to stay on his feet. He could have gone down, thought, well, I might win a free kick right here. It's in Kieran territory, isn't it? So I'll go down. But no, he thought, no, I want to go. I want to have a go at the goal. So for a bit of balancing, as we sort of like, that could be given on one day. At the other end, our penalty, which wasn't a penalty, which could have been a penalty. Ez, go on, you go first, because I know you've got...
Was that the Joe Linton one?
Yes, the one where it looked like it was going out and he knocked it back.
I mean, the player's hand, his arm was in a natural position because he was trying to elevate himself to head the ball, and he's not going to do that with these arms by his side. Like, no player does that. So his arm wasn't particularly out of place, and the ball hit his arm. The ball hit his arm. That's without question. But it just didn't seem like a handball to me at the time. Although I was screaming for it to be a handball, obviously at the time. But looking back,
yeah. Alan, go on. What did you think? You think it's a bit more clear cut than Ez does, or?
Yeah, I mean, there have been too many of these similar decisions happening this season for all the other teams. It's either a handball or it's not a handball. But right now, it's just so bloody grey. The refs need to sort it out. It's just ridiculous.
I mean, I always thought if it stops the ball traveling where it's going to go through your hand, deliberate or not, then it's a handball. I mean, obviously that's not the rule anymore. That's not the case anymore. It doesn't matter if he means it. If the fact that it stops the ball going, then that's. I mean, if that happens anywhere else on the pitch, it's probably it's probably stopped, and
the ball was going to go through to Wilson as well.
Yeah, so that's what I always thought. But I mean, again, we've been nice and tried to be not be biased, but let's be biased now. Let's be completely biased. For me, there's I take two things away. First of all, and no doubt you will, the renaissance that is Miggy. Last year it was Big Joe, and now it's Miggy. I mean, Alan. I mean, what can you say about him? I mean, it's so the difference is just vast, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's almost as if in pre-season they did a brain transplant.
Yeah,
the guy that just keeps running and running and running. Now he's got a football brain. But that goal was just amazing. I mean, and he was as usual running up and down and
yeah. I mean, the way he just sort of like shrugged the guy off, in the box, he sort of like get off, and he was right past him. Ez, what did you make of it, or make of Miggy in general?
Well, I mean,
sum up his October for us, because I mean he's going to be player of the month, isn't he? So sum up, the whole month that he's had from Fulham to now.
He's got to get player of the month. I'll sum up his whole career. Newcastle career. He came to Newcastle with under Rafa Benitez, looked pretty decent. Then we had Steve Bruce, didn't look so decent. And now we've got Eddie Howe, and he looks decent again. So I'll let you connect the dots there. But clearly, he's a player who needs a manager who can put his arm around him, tell him what to do, maybe micromanage him a little bit, but give him the confidence. And he's been excellent today. And this month, I will say the goal he scored today, where he skinned the Tottenham defender, and he scored a similar goal to that I think during pre-season. You're like, wow, okay, this guy's. Okay, he can do that then. Okay, brilliant. And then he started the season and it didn't. Oh no, he's gone back into the old, typical player to do really well in pre-season and then start the season and not show that pre-season form. But no, he's come into it now, and I mean 5 goals. He's got to get player of the month. And Matt, I don't even know if we need a right winger in January anymore. Like we're desperate for one. I don't think we need one anymore.
Yeah, I mean, with the big gaping hole that is Maxi that we all fretted about, Miggy's doing that for him. He's dragging that team forward just like Maxi does. He's scoring the goals, probably even more so than Maxi does.
Here's a question for you guys: has Maxi ever shown the consistency that Almiron's shown this month in his Newcastle career?
Possibly, maybe towards the back end of the season before last, Bruce's last full season, he did, when again it looked like squeaky bum. Didn't he scored a good couple, didn't he? Got a good one against Burnley away. That was last. That wasn't this. That was the season before last, wasn't it? So maybe, but we're not going to put Miggy down, are we, by comparing it to Maxi? It's just been amazing. His transformation. I mean, again, is it just confidence? Is it just, is it Eddie? I mean, this is the thing also about Eddie Howe compared to someone like Steven Gerrard, and why Eddie's flourished and maybe Gerrard hasn't. Whereas Gerrard, apparently the rumours was that, maybe he didn't have all the support of all the players, which their result today would definitely sort of like qualify that, or at least go somewhere to qualify that. Whereas Eddie's the opposite. You can see what he's done for players that were on the fringe that we all thought would go. We all thought, well, Miggy will go, won't he? I mean, as much as we all loved him, we thought he'll go, we'll get Murphy will go, probably Big Joe will probably go. But then again, we dispelled that, didn't we, at the end? That's the difference between those two managers. Eddie has brought those players on as well that all go in the same way. And the amount of work they do, it's just, they run all day, don't they? It's
really disrespectful, this Gerrard and Howe comparison, I feel. Gerrard, great decorated player, wonderful, won a Champions League, But then Eddie Howe's got so much more experience as a manager. He's been a manager since the bottom of the, whatever league, and he's worked his way up.
Yeah.
You want to compare him with Gerrard, who's had the Rangers job, which is basically a 2-team league.
Yeah.
Maybe even a 1-team league sometimes. And the Villa job, and suddenly, he's like bloody managerial messiah or something.
Yeah.
Nonsense.
Well, let's forget about Gerrard anyway. We've gone off topic. I mean, my other thing, I said there was two things. One was Miggy. The other one is, I know it's near Halloween, but I've discovered that Kieran Trippier is actually supernatural. He appears, is all I can say. When we go down a flight and Miggy gets that ball from someone else, not from Kieran, he just appears in shot. Just like he's always been standing there. He just knows, he's there every time. Again, we're talking about engine, we're talking about desire. His engine, I mean, what is he, 30 or something like that? His engine is amazing because he's always there. If you watch him all the time, every time Miggy gets the ball, he's there for Miggy, to take that load, probably because he got used to wanting to take the load off Miggy. Did you see that today? He is supernatural. He's just amazing. Guys, do you see that in him, or
yeah?
is that just me?
I think you meant we were talking about Miggy, right? I think Miggy, a big part of Miggy's renaissance is because he's got Kieran Trippier on the right hand side to support him, almost micromanage him on the pitch sometimes. But now they've got a really good understanding. You can see that they know where each other are going to run, and you can see that they're always interchanging between themselves. So I think that they're egging each other on, really. And yeah, he's been invaluable. He made a couple of mistakes, Kieran Trippier, in throughout the game, but I mean, you can't begrudge him that because he's been so solid all season, and today he was awesome again. Some of his deliveries were just top notch.
Yeah,
I think his leadership is just so bloody, incredible as well. It's so brave.
Yeah.
For the Spurs goal, which I thought wasn't a goal because I felt it was offside. He's got the guts to go and mark Harry Kane, who's far taller than he is. And as a captain, you're like, whoa.
And while we're talking about Harry Kane, we've got to move. Someone else who marshaled him very well today was Sven Botman, who is pretty much fast becoming, over the last 10 years, probably the best defender we've had. Probably, well, no, I'll go even further back, since probably Jonathan Woodgate. Since he just rolls. So someone described him to me as a Rolls Royce, and I know what they mean. He just, everything about him is class. He just brings class all the time. He just seems to get around the pitch without any problems. He just does it with ease, doesn't he? He does everything with ease, does he not? I mean, am I wrong? Is he not? Is he our best defender since? I know it's only been 11 games, and sue me for getting carried away. But we are fourth in the league, so for the first time in 10 years. So it's all retrospective now. We're looking back. Is he our best defender since Woodgate?
I'd go so far as to say he's maybe our best young player since Gaza. Like, honestly,
wow,
he's 22. He's 22. He's come in as a complete junior to this league. He's not even a full international player yet, and he, 11 games without defeat says all it needs to say. He's unflustered. He can play with both feet. Yeah, he's a solid guy, and he's huge as well. I mean, he's such a tall, commanding presence. I'm really excited about him. Again, a bit like you, I don't want to get too hyperbolic and big him up too much after 11 games, but if he makes it through half this season, he's already made it through more games than probably Jonathan Woodgate ever did for us.
That's true.
And then I'd say he will surpass Woodgate and Colaccini and the like. But I think there's still some way to go.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Is that fair, Alan? I mean, he is like you said, he's only 22, but what a future! What a play we've got. No wonder we hung in there for him and made him our number one signing. This when everyone else was screaming that we should get a striker, need a striker, which we did get eventually. But Botman was number one, wasn't he? And you can see why. Yeah.
It says a lot when AC Milan and Maldini are chasing him, and the fact that he's in the Holland provisional squad as well. I mean, they'd be crazy not to take him.
Yeah.
If they were just to look at the performance for a central defender, that's the model performance right there against Harry Kane, against I mean, unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, no, the best testimony I can give to Botman is the fact that Harry Kane was rattled, and he seemed to take it out on his teammate on Nick Pope for his time wasting. But you could see that he was just thinking, "I'm not going to sniff here." He didn't, he didn't command that box like he did, and they started to do all the things that they do very well. They stopped doing them for some reason. So, which is not putting our performance down, because I think if they'd given us a bit more of a game, I think we would have. It would have stretched it a bit more. And I think, it didn't look like a game. I mean, we all predicted that we wouldn't lose today, but I wouldn't in my wildest dreams think we'd have won 2-1. And we move on to Villa, and we won't go into that too much because obviously we'll be doing that on Friday. But the rest of we don't want the World Cup to come, do we, lads? We don't want to stop now, do we? We just want to keep going, surely. Just keep this run going. Don't want our best players disappearing off, do we? We don't want to stop playing now. We want to play Wednesday night again, don't we?
Yeah, so true. And if we continue to play the way that we're playing, a few of our lads are going to get called up, and then we'll be biting our fingernails for a whole bloody month as well.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking that today with every time, because Wilson he went running through for a ball in the first half, and I thought, why is he doing that? Don't just slow down, But I mean. He actually impressed me today, Wilson. I think it's he's putting himself about a lot, and he was coming very, very deep, wasn't he? I thought.
Yeah, I'm surprised he started 3 games and he's played the majority of all 3 games, given his injury record, and he's just come back. His pressing game was really good. He was mean. He was just. If you're the opposition, you just can't stand a player like that. He's getting in the face of the goalkeeper, and he's flapping his gums. That's not the kind of player you want to come up against. And you remember if you come in a game with Callum Wilson. I'm just worried now that he isn't going to play next week, or maybe won't start next week, given that he's had this 3 games in 8 days. But yeah, he's even with Isak back. I've got Wilson on this form with his leadership skills. I think I'd still start Wilson as it stands.
Yeah, and talking about having Isak back, obviously John Joe came on for last 5-10 minutes, didn't he? Alan, that's a nice return, isn't it? And this is the sort of thing we need, isn't it, as we get further into the season, to be getting these type of players back. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. His experience, calmness on the ball, distribution. There were a few times when we were, as expected, we'll be nervy at the end. And he just pinged, up to Chris Woods to the corner,
Yeah.
That's exactly what we needed.
Yeah. It's hard to shake off the whole, sort of like fretting about it all the time, because we're not used to we're not used to this sort of, this, as I keep saying, we are through the looking glass now, and today is a massive statement, isn't it? As for the rest of the Premier League now, they must be going, oh God.
Yeah, because we're not, we might have got a result like this a couple of seasons ago, right? We might have, like we did actually, under the Raffas, and we might have, even under Bruce, we scraped results. We didn't scrape this. If you look at the stats, and now we've come out of the game and out of the emotion of it, the possession was more or less 50-50. It was 52% in Spurs' favour.
Yeah, it was.
However, we had more free kicks, more corner kicks. We had the same number of shots on goal. Our goalkeeper only made 1 more save. So actually, if you just look at it from the stats, it was a lot more even than it's ever been, for at least since I can remember, at least since maybe that Pardue 5th season. And couple that with Liverpool and Man City, we seem to be not phased anymore by it's the fans that are creating the anxiety. The players are fine on the pitch. They're relishing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's probably a good place to leave it with, that the future is bright, the future is black and white. So thank you to Alan and Ez, and onwards and upwards, and good evening, everybody. Have a safe journey home if you're watching this on the train or wherever you are, and bring on Villa.
Night
all.